Welcome to another Recaptivate. Today we feature the movie Tune-in for Love, a 2019 South Korean romance film. The movie stars Kim Go-eun as Mi-soo and Young Hae-in as Hyun-woo. The story starts in 1994. Mi-soo works at a bakery. An emotionless Hyun-woo walks in before opening time and asks for anything with soybeans. Mi-soo recommends soy milk, but realizes they don't have any and suggests the convenience store down the street. As Hyun-woo leaves, Eun-ja, Mi-soo's close friend and co-worker, watches as he walks away, and assumes he is newly released from prison. Later that day, Hyun-woo returns to the bakery and applies for a part-time job. Hyun-woo, Mi-soo, and Eun-ja spend a lot of time together and get closer to each other. Put up the Christmas tree and talk. Old friends of Hyun-woo find him in the bakery and stop by. They get too boisterous for the place, so Eun-ja asks them to leave. Before Hyun-woo takes off with them, he asks for his payment in advance. Mi-soo and Eun-ja wonder if he'll ever come back. Later that night, Hyun-woo and his friends are at a soju bar as they remember the death of their friend. Hyun-woo's friends picks a fight with a customer who snide comments they were too glum, like they were at a funeral. Mi-soo waits for Hyun-woo to return, but he never does. In 1997, the bakery closed. After college, Mi-soo meets with a counselor and tells him she didn't get a job at any of the big companies. He recommends two options: working temp for a popular radio show, which was her favorite program, or a stable job at a newsletter editor company. She decides to take the safer choice. She visits Eun-ja at a noodle shop which she currently runs after the bakery closed down, to share the good news. Meanwhile, Hyun-woo is working as a furniture mover. He takes a pile of books to a used book shop. The owner asks if Hyun-woo could carry his elderly mother home, and he willingly does. As he walks the woman home, Hyun-woo sees Mi-soo standing in front of the old bakery and asks for her to wait for him. The two reconnect. He tells her he completed his GED. Then Mi-soo asks if he wants to visit Eun-ja's noodle shop the next day, but says he couldn't because he would be off to his military service. He walks her home. As he is about to leave, Mi-soo invites him over and asks him to spend the night. Hyun-woo tells her that he wanted to go back to the bakery, but his probation was revoked due to the fight he and his friends were involved in the night he left. The next morning, Mi-soo signs him up for an email account. The password is her student ID and passcode to her apartment. She gives it to him as they separate ways and tells him to keep in touch with her. The two embrace and give each other an awkward smack on the lips before heading off. Later that day, Mi-soo feels so foolish to have forgotten to give him the password to his account. In 2000, the bakery was turned into a real estate agency office and the new apartment buildings were built. Mi-soo moves out of her apartment. She still constantly sends Hyun-woo emails. Hyun-woo gets back from his military service and finds Mi-soo no longer living there. He decides to move into her old place, and as he is signing the lease, he sees her door code and tries to use the same code into his email account, and he finally gets through. Mi-soo, as she always does, hopes to see an email from Hyun-woo and is thrilled to finally see him reply. She gets his phone number, so she can call him the next day. She is happy when she finally hears his voice and tells him she would call again that evening. However, an angry mob storms the gym because they were scammed. In the process, Hyun-woo's phone is left laying there while he is at the police station. Mi-soo tries to call him several times, but is unable to reach him, and he is once again in trouble with the police. They are, one more time, separated by unfortunate circumstances. Spring of 2005, Mi-soo is happy at her new publishing job. The new book they publish gets advertised on her favorite radio station, and it also becomes a top seller. Meanwhile, Hyun-woo works for a video editing startup and just moved in above Mi-soo's office. Destiny brings them back yet again. Hyun-woo brings her back to her old apartment and tells her he now lives there. Mi-soo takes a few days off work to spend time with Hyun-woo. That night, Hyun-woo asks if she's still scared of her, since she used to be when they first met. She shakes her head and they exchange a very passionate kiss. The following day, Mi-soo convinces Hyun-woo to visit Eun-ja by himself, at her noodle shop. Mi-soo refuses to go and waits nearby because she wasn't very approving of the man Eun-ja married. Until she apprehends Eun-ja's stepdaughter for smoking cigarettes. The three are reunited again. She served them both with a delicious meal and had some to take home too. He tells her there are a few things he holds very dear, and one of those is Mi-soo. They are so in love. Hyun-woo sticks a photo he took of Mi-soo at one of the beams at work, for him to stare at. One day, Mi-soo's boss surveys the area where the old bakery was. At the office, he tells Mi-soo he bought one of the stores and plans to convert into a bakery, offer cooking classes and wants Mi-soo to help him. He also tells the video boys to start packing up their stuff and find another place to work at. One day, Hyun-woo gets several phone calls but ignores them, until he takes the call. He is then seen riding a van with his old friends. They remind him of the 10th anniversary of their friend's death, for which Hyun-woo was blamed and imprisoned for. Their friend fell off the rooftop as they were playing and Hyun-woo was suspected of pushing him off. The group drives to their dead friend's house to send his sister some money. His sister tells them to leave and Hyun-woo tries to tell her that it was all an accident and begs her to forgive him, but she never does. Hyun-woo forgets his cell phone in his friend's vehicle. So as Mi-soo tries to call Hyun-woo, his friend answers the phone instead. His friend brings back the phone to her. That night, she tries to make Hyun-woo tell him where he went that day, but he lies and says he went to see his grandma. So the next day, she goes to see his friend at a taekwondo studio that she remembers that was written on the van, and she learns about Hyun-woo's past. The friend takes her to Jong-yeop's house. Probably to talk to the sister and try to make amends for Hyun-woo, but they moved. That night, Mi-soo makes Hyun-woo dinner. As he eats, she tells Hyun-woo she went to see his friend's sister but is no longer there and that everything will be okay. He will never have to go see her again. This devastates Hyun-woo so much, having always prayed that she wouldn't find out about this unfortunate part of his life. She begs him not to go and to stop running away from his past, but he still leaves. He hunts his friend who told her about everything. The two argue and beat each other up. Hyun-woo then goes to see Eun-ja at his noodle shop. He returns home to find Mi-soo gone. The next day Hyun-woo returns to his old workplace to get the picture of Mi-soo he left there. He sees Mi-soo's boss, who tells him that he has Mi-soo's picture at his apartment. And that Hyun-woo and Mi-soo aren't happy together. And she deserves someone who will make her truly happy. Hyun-woo stops him once again and asks him if he follows his car, will he find Mi-soo? This makes her boss laugh and he drives off with Hyun-woo running on foot behind him. True enough, he sees Mi-soo get in her boss's car. He starts to chase after them. Her boss stops the car and Mi-soo gets out and approaches Hyun-woo. He gives her a hug and says he loves her, but Mi-soo only tells him once again to stop running. Hyun-woo breaks down into tears as they drive away. A few days later, Mi-soo visits Eun-ja. Eun-ja makes her donuts, like the ones she used to make at the bakery. Mi-soo comments that everything in the world has changed, except the taste of her donuts. Eun-ja talks about the night Hyun-woo visited her. She says that Hyun-woo thanked her for trusting in him years ago, taking him into the bakery, even when his own family and teachers never did. Hyun-woo starts his job as the video editor for Yoo Yeol's radio show Video Stream. The host asks Hyun-woo if he has anyone he wants to give a shout out to. Mi-soo, as always, tunes into the program and hears her name mentioned on the show. She hurriedly takes off work without telling anyone and heads over to the studio. Hyun-woo starts packing up his gadget, glances up and is surprised to see Mi-soo. She gives him a thumbs up for the job well done. He grabs his camera to take her photo. They are overjoyed. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed Tune In for Love. Please join our Recaptivate community by clicking on the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments how we can make the channel better. Have a wonderful day.